And thank you for joining us here at the First Alert Desk. We want to take you straight out to breaking news. Reports of a plane on I-985 at Woodward Mill Road. We just got this information here into the newsroom. We're following the latest details, talking to the responding officials. But you can see, I'm going to bring my graphic down, the traffic that is at a standstill as emergency crews are responding. We are working to learn the details of what exactly happened. We do know that there is reports of a plane on I-985 at Woodward Mill Road. I'm Maria Moreau.
All right, guys, and again, as you can see here, this traffic here is expected to be like this for quite some time. We haven't heard of any injuries yet at this moment. We also don't know how many people were on that plane, but as you can see there, those lanes of traffic there are moving very slowly because we don't have a visual picture of that plane yet. But what we do know is that a plane is down on I-985 at Woodward Mill Road there. And
just to put this into perspective, we have a crew that is headed towards this location. Now, keep in mind, with traffic at a standstill, this is going to be a hard area to access. The most that we could do right now is pull up a traffic map for you. We're working on getting a closer visual as well, but we're following reports of a plane on I-985 at Woodward Mill Road, and we do have an Atlanta News First crew en route, as well as our team here at Atlanta News First, working to learn the latest details. I'm going to pull up a map here actually and show you where exactly this is for those that might be unfamiliar with the area. But again, we just received reports, like Jamarla was saying, of a plane on I-985 at Woodward Mill Road.
And if you're driving through this area, or if you're expected to travel this area, if you're getting off work this afternoon, you want to avoid it. So go ahead and share this live feed on your social media platforms. Just let people know that this is what's happening here on this stretch of road here on Interstate 985 at Woodward Mill Road. And as you again look there, you can see that traffic has not moved yet. And Maria, she just pulled up a map here just to give you guys a better look at what we're seeing on our end.
Yes, this is a standard Google map, nothing fancy here, but I did want to just show you where exactly this is in the Beaufort area, and you can see just some of the surrounding businesses. Might pinpoint on this map might not be totally accurate, but this is the area of Woodward Mill Road. This is where traffic is backed up and really just not moving. I'm going to take you back here. You can see on one side of the road clear as day, but the other, those cars are parked and they're expected to be there for a while. We are actually in communication with GDOT right now, working to learn how long this standstill of traffic is going to last and exactly what the response is in that plane. That is all happening right around this corner. You can't really see it because the tree and the forest is covering, but you can see just the line of traffic that I imagine has built up for several miles now. We did receive reports of a plane on I-985 near Woodward Mill Road. This is in the area of Beaufort. If you are planning to head this way, I know this is at the time where a lot of people are getting off work. Just keep in mind, you don't want to get stuck in this traffic. We did receive reports of a plane on the interstate. Avoid this area as best as possible. And we did just receive reports that we might have a flight path to show you of this plane, just to show you exactly where it was possibly headed and the route that it ended up taking. Now, we did receive reports of a plane on the interstate at Woodward Mill Road. This is in Beaufort. If you are familiar with this area, you know that it's heavily trafficked. You can see by that line of cars that my graphic is mostly covering up. that traffic is just not moving right now, not until those emergency crews can respond to that plane. We are working on getting you a visual of that flight path that I do believe I might have here from our lovely digital content producer. So I'm going to pull that up here for you if you guys can give me a moment. But yeah, reports of a plane on 985 near Woodward Mill Road. Again, we're following the latest, and we're going to bring that to you as we learn more details.
All right, and as Maria worked on pulling that up, that flight path there, if you're just joining this live stream, I want to let you know right now that there is a plane currently sitting in the northbound lanes of Interstate 985 in Gwinnett County. Both lanes of the interstate are shut down near Buford Drive, and again, as you're looking at the screen right now, you can see that traffic has not moved yet. Maria, do you have that picture yet?
And I do have the flight path actually, Jamarlo, so you can see here the full flight path I'm going to bring that a little closer. I'm trying to get you a close-up visual of it. This is exactly the way that the plane flew, and you can see just some, I'm not a flight expert, I'm not even going to pretend to be, but you can see some circling that took place right before we learned that a plane was on 985 near Woodward Mill Road. That is the flight path of this plane. That kind of tells you a picture of what might have happened and kind of where we are right now with traffic with this plane that is on an interstate that I'm sure it's not supposed to be on. And we are learning the latest details. Now, as Jamarlo was saying at the start of the stream, no reports of injuries at this time. That is still subject to change. We don't have a lot of details, but we are in communication with GDOT and other responding emergency crews and our Atlanta News First reporter, Yasmina Alston. She's headed to this scene. As soon as we connect with her, we will try to get you an on-the-ground visual. But right now what you're looking at is a traffic map, and that's as close as we can get you to this plane that is apparently on this interstate near Woodward Mill Road. Again, that flight path for you, as you can see, was sent in to us. That is the flight path of this aircraft. We're also working to learn more details about the pilot and really whether they're okay right now.
Yeah, because we haven't heard of any injuries as of yet, and we also don't know how many people were on that plane. But we were able to look at that plane, and it looked like a smaller aircraft, right, Maria?
That's right. Yeah, it appears to be. And I wish I was better at reading flight paths, at a time like this. But you can see, I think it's fair to say it's not a normal path that a plane would take. So we don't have the details of what exactly caused this plane to make that landing on 985, but you can just see the path that it took, and it being somewhat not linear.
Right, it looks like it may have circled around, that sort of thing, but we just don't know those specific details just yet.
But what we can tell you is there are reports of a plane on I-985. This is near Woodward Mill Road in the Buford area. Again, for those getting off work, don't get stuck in this. Make sure you let your loved ones know if this is the path they take home or this is an area they're headed to on a Tuesday evening. Avoid this area as best as possible. Emergency crews are responding to a plane on 985 at Woodward Mill Road. All right, some details fresh into our newsroom for you. The plane that we've been following. This is a plane that is reportedly on the interstate I-985 at Woodward Mill Road. We showed you just moments ago the flight path being a little erratic of this plane. We have since learned that this aircraft, a Piper P-28A, it's a fixed-wing, single-engine aircraft according to the FAA registry. Now, it took off at approximately 3:23 p.m. From Gwinnett County Airport in Lawrenceville.
Yeah, and it was in the air for about 45 minutes before it made that landing there on I-985 at Woodward Mill Road.
Yeah, so about 48 minutes in the air, taking off at 3:23, now it being 4:48 from Gwinnett County Airport all the way to I-985 at Woodward Mill Road. And you can just see I almost want to say it looks like the plane was attempting to come back. And you can see that that didn't take place in the way it intended. And I do believe we have our Atlanta News First chopper over this scene. So let's see if we can take you out to this live visual. I'm going to try to get this for you guys. Give me just one moment here. Yeah, and we do have a live picture of this plane. Again, a Piper P-28A. It's a fixed-wing, single-engine aircraft.
And all that traffic you saw there, this is the reason why it's being held up here, because of this plane here in the middle of the interstate.
And I think we were, before we hopped on this stream, you and I were talking about whether this was an emergency landing or a crash. That still is to be confirmed to us. But you can see right here, I can pull up, that is traffic on your right-hand side. On the left, our Atlanta News First chopper showing you the scene of this plane on the interstate 985 at Woodward Mill Road.
Yeah, and that plane is currently sitting in the northbound lanes. And again, both lanes of the interstate are shut down near Buford Drive. Again, Maria, we haven't heard of any injuries yet, and we don't know how many people were on that plane. But as you take a look there on your screen, you can see that it is a very much smaller aircraft, as you mentioned right there. You actually mentioned the name of that type of aircraft, did you?
Yeah, it was a Piper P-28A. It's a fixed-wing, single-engine aircraft. And you can see, look how many emergency crews are responding to this. Investigators at the scene, at least 3, I want to say Gwinnett County police vehicles, a fire truck or an ambulance, a responding EMT at least. And I am still waiting to hear the condition of this pilot. I see some emergency crew members gathered around. I'm not sure, I don't want to assume anything, but we are still looking out for reports. Right now we haven't heard that there's been any injuries, but we're monitoring every detail of this developing story.
Yeah, we've been up for the past half hour now, and this is what the scene looks like. A lot of traffic backed up there on I-985, and as you can see here, that plane has not yet moved. A lot of fire officials are out there, first responders, police, as you can see, as you just mentioned, Maria, and there you see an ambulance right in the back there. So hopefully the pilot is okay. Hopefully if he had passengers in this aircraft, hopefully that they're okay, but we just don't know if there were any passengers in it or if the pilot was injured at all.
And again, this is a Piper P-28A. It's a fixed-wing, single-engine aircraft. It took off from Gwinnett County Airport in Lawrenceville at about 3:23 p.m., was in the air for about 48 minutes, and then seemingly landed on this interstate at Woodward Mill Road. Now I'm going to try to show you a side-by-side. This is the flight path that it took on your right-hand side, and the left is that live picture of this current situation on I-985, that plane still on the interstate, that flight path looking like the pilot attempted to turn around. There was some circling that is outside of what we normally see in a flight path, and then seemingly this plane now on the interstate. Now, we are following reports. We're talking to GDOT. We have an Atlanta News First crew that is en route to this scene, working to get all of those details to you to find out exactly what happened here.
And we just learned not too long ago that that particular aircraft that you're looking at on the screen right now left Gwinnett County Airport in Lawrenceville, and it was in the air for about 45 minutes before it made an emergency landing right there on Interstate 985. So we're going to continue monitor this developing story, because as you can imagine, traffic is going to be impacted for the next couple of hours, I can imagine.
At least until that plane is moved out of the way. And I want to almost say, like, look at the damage to that wing. I want to safely say this was a plane crash. We do know the plane is on I-985 at Woodward Mill Road. You can see some damage to that wing right there. Our Atlanta News First chopper zooming in so we can get a better look. Several emergency crews on scene, and then you can see just a close-up.
Yeah, some intense damage right there to the right wing of that aircraft. So maybe when it landed, it didn't land a proper weight. So who knows? You know, we're still trying to figure all the details out about this situation here.
You can hear our busy newsroom working. We're all working collectively on this story, working to get you the latest details. And I gotta say, I've had friends who were pilots for small single-engine aircrafts, much like this one. That is a scary situation, but that's one situation where you have to make the best call possible. You have a damaged wing. You have to find a way to safely land, minimize injuries, minimize impact below you.
Yeah, and the drivers too. Imagine a plane coming out of the sky and landing on the interstate. Thankfully, no cars were impacted, as we can see right now. It doesn't look like it anyway, but we do know that there is damage to their aircraft. So we can say that the right wing of their aircraft has some damage to it. So,
and I just want to take you away from this for a moment, just to show you. This is the line around the bend of cars, and then I imagine it's just going on for miles and miles. This traffic is not moving.
And take a look at the bottom of the screen here. You can see that some cars are actually turning around, because I can imagine they don't want to sit in that traffic any longer than they already have.
And if you guys have questions regarding this, let us know. We are monitoring this situation. We will work to get those answers to you. If you're on our Atlanta News First Facebook and YouTube pages, we're checking through all of your comments right now. But this is the active scene that you're looking at from our Atlanta News First chopper. A plane looks like crashed on I-985 at Woodward Mill Road. We're following the latest details. Several emergency crews on scene, and traffic just backed up for miles. Several cars, like you just said, just deciding to turn around. Hopefully they were able to get our news alerts. It's a good time to have the Atlanta News First app for things like this. Absolutely. So that you can stay in the know. If you have a loved one, a friend, just somebody that you know goes past this area on a Tuesday like this, maybe they're coming home from work, or this is just the route they normally take, hey, let them know. It might be a good idea to consider turning around, or at the very least, expect to sit in this for quite some time.
And not only that, it's a good opportunity for them to download our Atlanta News First mobile app. Also, go ahead and share this live feed here on your social media platforms, because we're sure a lot of people are wondering what's going on I-985, and as you can see, this is what's happening here. A plane landed on the ground, I'd say about half an hour ago or so. We do know that that particular plane was leaving Gwinnett County Airport in Lawrenceville. It was in the air for about 45 minutes before it made a hard landing on I-985.
And again, all lanes remain blocked. Traffic is not moving at this time. You can see that just from this picture. Nobody's getting through, and that probably will be the case at least until that aircraft is able to be safely moved off of this roadway. Again, this is I-985 northbound, just past I-85. All lanes remain blocked. You want to avoid travel in this direction. This is a traffic buildup that is going on just for miles and miles at this point. And you can see some vehicles deciding to just turn around and take that southbound route back in the direction that they originally came from. But I imagine just the sight that the front row must have, those initial few cars that see this plane within view.
Absolutely. Again, all southbound lanes are open. All northbound lanes are closed.
So there is that option, again, just to avoid that area, turn around if that's even possible for you in a safe manner, as you can see some of the cars doing here. But let's stick with this shot. I'm not gonna come off of it too often because I do want to bring you this live visual. You can see significant damage to that right side of that airplane wing. Again, this is a single engine aircraft that is now on I-985 in Buford. This is at Woodward Mill Road. Just look at that. And we are monitoring any and all updates that are coming in to us. We are in communication with the responding officials, with GDOT, where we have our Atlanta News First crews en route to this scene. So we're working to get you more information, particularly about the condition of this pilot. We haven't heard reports of injuries at this time. We're still monitoring that. Right now, it looks like, I think from what we've seen following this, there weren't any cars that were impacted, but certainly the plane.
Right. And again, guys, if you're traveling through this area, or if you know someone who will be traveling through this particular area this evening or tonight, please tell them to avoid. And as you can see here again, the fire crews just put up some caution tape there. So I imagine more cars that we saw making a U-turn, getting on the southbound lanes, heading back. We're going to see much more of that as we continue to watch this unfold here.
You know, I've never seen crime tape being put up actually in real time, but that kind of indicates where they are at this point. They have to investigate and conduct that investigation and work out a way to safely move that aircraft off of the runway. Those cars are going to be sitting there for quite some time. Look at that traffic. It's just gotten so much heavier. And there you go, just miles and miles. A school bus even stuck on the roadway. Some of these investigators, responding officials, kind of walking towards the direction of what I believe are their vehicles, and those cars are just going to have to sit there for a bit while they work out this situation. This is not something that we typically see happen on a day-to-day. All right, and we are following the latest reports of this plane crash on 985 at Woodward Mill Road. Again, this is a Piper fixed wing, single engine plane. I'm looking at my notes down here. Plane took off from Lawrenceville, from the Gwinnett County Airport at about 3:23. It was in the air for a bit, and then we saw an erratic flight path before learning that this was where this plane had touched down, this interstate on Woodward Mill Road.
Absolutely. And if you're just joining this live stream, we want to let you know that now there's a plane sitting in the northbound lanes of I-985 at Woodward Mill Road, and we have a live picture up now of what the scene looks like. You can see that fire crews are on scene, ambulance are on scene there, several police cruisers and police officers are on scene as well, trying to figure out maybe what led up to this hard landing. You know, we've been knowing about this for the last half hour right now, right?
Yeah, a little over a half hour since we've gotten those initial reports. I'm going to just take you to that flight path one more time just to walk you through this. This plane took off from Lawrenceville, from Gwinnett County Airport, around 3:23, right? It went north, circled near Lake Lanier, and then came back south where it eventually landed on the interstate. Now, the total flight time was about 48 minutes. Now, this is where we're at, taking you to this live picture, I-985 at Woodward Mill Road. You can see several crews responding. We saw crime scene tape go up. I just don't think we're at the tail end as much as these motorists that are stuck on the roadway are hoping this traffic clears so they can continue on with their path. This is just going to take some time. You can see how many Gwinnett County crews, emergency crews are responding to this situation right now, but traffic is just going to sit at a standstill for quite some time. I'm not expecting this to let up. We are working with GDOT to learn what the estimated clear time is right now. That remains to be known. We haven't heard reports of any injuries, but again, I-985 north, past I-85. Just avoid this area as best as possible. All lanes are currently blocked. You just don't want to be traveling in this direction. I know a lot of you are getting off work and this traffic is just going to build and build, but if you can, try to plan some alternate routes. I'm actually going to see if we can get those updates from our First Alert traffic team, see if we can get you some of those alternate routes. I'm going to check in with them, but again, this is just going to remain the situation for quite some time as we learn more.
And you can expect traffic to be heavy throughout this evening and probably tonight too, as those officials there try to get that plane off the interstate, try to get the road back open. And again, we don't know if any injuries were reported. We also don't know if it was just the pilot on that plane or if he had a passenger on that plane. But as you saw on the screen there, that plane is a very much smaller aircraft than what you would quite imagine, versus a plane over at Atlanta airport.
Hey, we actually got a comment. I'm sorry, D'Anthony, it took me so long to see your comment. D'Anthony is sitting in this now. That's what they say. They say that the pilot, details about the pilot, some information. D'Anthony says, from the looks of it, the pilot is on, plane missing, the front landing gear. Not sure if that is a reason to emergency land in the highway. Fuel, I imagine that says fuel usage is intact. Wings partly damaged. As we saw, the far right wing significantly damaged. No signs of injuries. That is from D'Anthony. D'Anthony says that they are sitting in this traffic right now. We are working to get the latest reports and confirm that information, D'Anthony. We do not have the official condition of the pilot at this time, but we are working with the responding officials to learn that as best as we can. I do appreciate your information. Hey, if you are sitting in this, we'd love to hear from you if you can get in contact with us. I'm going to see if I can pull up our newsroom contact number and see if we can just talk a little bit about what you're seeing out there if you are able to contact us here. I'm going to drop that number for you, D'Anthony, in the comment section if you have a free moment, if in a safe manner, if you wanted to get in contact with us. We would love to talk to you and just get your perspective on what you're seeing out there. But for the rest of you, hopefully you're not sitting in this, you're not dealing with it too badly. Let us know just your thoughts on this. This is just a very peculiar situation, not something that we see happen usually.
Definitely not something we see every day here. And if you are still sitting in that traffic there, I suggest you to go ahead and make a U-turn and try to figure out another way to get home, because this might take a little while to clean up. It might take a little while for officials to gather all the information that they need in order to open the interstate.
And Jamie is asking why we stand up in the studio instead of sitting down. Jamie, I just want to let you know we're following this closely. I'm pulling up. I have a lot of graphics in front of me. It's just easier to stand and do all of that.
And we want to make sure we don't miss anything.
And we don't,
I think that's most important.
Mobility, I guess, is the answer. We are working with our staff here in the newsroom, our hardworking digital crew, our assignment editors, our producers. Everybody is, when these breaking news situations happen, everyone is all hands on deck. So as you can imagine, as we're talking, we're also moving around and getting information to you. I have a lot of tabs open in front of me, a lot of buttons that information is just pouring into. And as soon as I read anything, we get anything confirmed, whether it be an official, whether it be our crew that's out there working on the ground to get you this info, we're relaying it on here as soon as we can to you. But you can just see that damage. And I see that they're trying to drain what I want to say is the fuel from the plane. I'm not a plane expert, I'm not going to pretend to be, but it does look like they're trying to either remove the fuel. You can see those two individuals, emergency crew responders in orange, interacting with that left wing. The right wing significantly damaged, and that plane remains on the interstate at this time.
Yeah, guys, and if you're traveling through this area, if you know someone who will be traveling through this area to get home after work or to go to work in the evening hour, please let them know right now that they might need to take an alternate route, because, again, as you can see on camera here, we have a smaller aircraft sitting in the middle of the interstate on I-985 at Woodward Mill Road. All southbound lanes are open. However, all northbound lanes are closed. Police, they have put up caution tape there, so we imagine that they're going to be out there for a while.
And I just wanted to acknowledge a comment on our YouTube channel, because we are also streaming out there, from Metallica Abysmal. I think I said that right. Saying truck drivers can't U-turn. There's a lot of cars that are just so tightly packed together that that's not an option for them, and they're just stuck waiting for this to clear.
About like the 18-wheelers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
definitely will be a challenge for them to turn around. So not really sure how they're going to make that happen, but they might have to just tough it out and stick in this.
Yeah, again, for a lot of those vehicles that are either tightly packed in there, or like you said, are those 18-wheelers, those tractor trailers that don't have the mobility to move and kind of take on that southbound lane, they are going to be sitting in this until the plane is able to be cleared off the road, and until that crime scene tape comes up. Right now, it looks like they are in the middle of this investigation. This is a good time to share this live stream on your page, because you just never know who is stuck in this and could use this information, because I imagine there's some drivers that just aren't aware that this is going on miles ahead of them.
Yeah, also a very good time right now to download our Atlanta News First mobile app, so that way when the interstate reopens, we'll let you know by sending out a push alert, and boom, there you go.
Yeah. And I do believe we're trying to get a traffic map for you here, find you some alternate routes. I'm still working with our First Alert traffic team to get that information out to you. But in the meantime, that is that live picture. Investigators, I saw one of the emergency crew personnel that is wearing a yellow vest, or just one of those individuals taking photos of the plane. I'm not sure where in their investigation they are at this time, but it is very hazardous to move a plane like that. It's just not something that you can pick off and shove off the road, so this is gonna take some time. I think some of those drivers might have just hopped out of their cars just to see what was going on, and you can understand that situation. Hey, if you are watching this live stream and you happen to be on this roadway, send us some pictures to our newsroom. You can either download our Atlanta News First app, it's free by the way, and send your pictures through there. You can go on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com, or email our newsroom, news@wanf.com. Send us your photos, we'd love to share them. Let us know if you're stuck in this, we wanna hear from you. And I do just wanna make a clarification. This is just miles and miles of
take a look at that
traffic.
traffic there.
I didn't even think we could see
You
the
have
tail end of
police
it.
on the side of the road here. Let's see what they're doing.
Maybe additional support for this investigation, for clearing this plane.
And some people are even unable to turn around. Oh, well, it's a good thing that the police, looks like GSP, I believe, they have blocked out the entrance there, so that's a good thing. So no one else can get in there and get stuck behind that heavy traffic there. But wow, take a look.
Yeah, it does appear that they have just blocked off this area. And I want to say probably for the best, so that nobody is stuck in this, just to send people towards that alternate route. We're also working to get you some more alternate routes from our weather team. I'm actually going to try to reach out to our First Alert meteorologists who are also looking into this and trying to get the latest information on alternate traffic routes and just the latest traffic information involved in this. But taking you back to that plane crash, I mean, take a look at that right wing and the damage that it took. And I'm not sure if that happened upon landing or in the air. We're working to get those latest details, but you can see some significant damage to the right wing of that plane.
And if you're just joining this live stream, I'm Atlanta News First, Jamarlo Phillips here with Maria Moreau, and what you're looking at right now is a smaller aircraft sitting there in the northbound lanes of I-985 at Woodward Mill Road. Traffic is backed up. We advise you to find an alternate route because police and fire officials, they're going to be out here for some time trying to piece together what happened. We don't know many details right now, but what we do know is that there is significant damage to the right wing of this plane. We haven't heard of any injuries yet. We don't know if the pilot is injured. We don't know if he or she had any passengers on board either. But again, what we do know is that traffic is heavily impacted here. We want to let you know, to let your friends and family know to find an alternate route because again, we just don't know how long this interstate's going to be closed here.
Yeah, this Piper PA-28 single-engine aircraft that apparently had made a landing on the highway. Now this plane taking off from Gwinnett County Airport in Lawrenceville at about 3:23. It was in the air for approximately 48 minutes, taking this almost visibly erratic flight path before landing on this interstate in Buford. This is I-985 at Woodward Mill Road. We're following the latest details. We have our entire newsroom that's working to get you the latest information, new developments that are coming in, and we do have an Atlanta News First crew en route to this. You can imagine just the traffic we also have to deal with, so we are going to monitor where they're at and just try to connect with them once they get close enough to this scene.
And what we do know, again, the plane traveled north after leaving the Gwinnett County Airport. Can you go back to that screen there,
Yeah,
Maria?
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so the plane traveled north. It circled near Lake Lanier and went south before making an emergency landing here on I-985.
85 near Suwanee, northeast of the city there. Authorities telling us right now that that plane did make that hard landing. It's unclear how many passengers were on board, but traffic is backed up for miles. It's a story we'll continue to follow. Stay with us for Atlanta News First at 5, right after this.
And I just wanted to take you into our newscast for a bit because we're following this situation on our Atlanta News First newscast. We're going to stay on with this and bring you the latest details about every development that we learn. But for us here at ANF Plus, all of our digital platforms where we're here with you, we are going to relay this information, any new details that we get into the newsroom and from our crews that are in the field working on this, talking to these investigators. We're going to relay that right here, but you can just see the amount of response to this situation and the damage of that wing. I mean, part of it appears to just be completely torn off. I'm going to try to get a flight path animation for you guys so you can just see the route that this pilot took. And speaking of pilot, hey, we are also working to learn the details of the pilot's condition. I haven't heard of that just yet. I think we're still working to get that information. But again, we are looking right now for the latest on the pilot's condition, the expected clear time of these roadways, and as well as the latest information that motorists can use right now. But all I can tell you is you want to just avoid all southbound lanes on I-985. Again, it looks like a Georgia State Patrol vehicle is blocking off that entry onto this roadway, but several miles of traffic.
Absolutely, and that plane there, it's currently sitting in the northbound lanes of I-985, and it's been there for the past hour now. So again, if you are traveling through this area, know anyone traveling through this area, find an alternate route because you might be in traffic for some time.
And it does look like, straight from our first alert traffic team, they did let me know to relay Satellite Boulevard does look like a good alternate if you're just trying to get around this. That's probably going to be your best bet with where this plane had made an emergency landing, with where traffic is building up. Satellite Boulevard, you want to plan to take that as an alternate route.
85 blocking all of the lanes going southbound right now. You're looking at a live image from our Atlanta News First chopper. It looks like hazmat crews right out there on the wing at this hour. Traffic in the other lanes right now moving fine, but where that plane is, Tracy, nobody's going anywhere anytime soon.
No, not at all. And just a quick note, Alan, this is in the northbound lanes where that plane went down, where it made that hard landing. From what we understand, a single engine plane. Still working to find out any details on how many passengers were on board and any details. And of course, no doubt the FAA, the NTSB will have to come out and investigate. It's unclear just how long that plane will have to sit there. You can see some damage to the right wing there.
Right there, yeah.
But for the most part, hoping the pilot and possibly a passenger made it out with minimal injuries. But again, the northbound lanes of I-985, this is near Suwanee, are shut down. The southbound lanes, they are open and traffic is flowing, but of course there's a lot of looky-loos. So traffic in both directions, they're kind of jammed up. So we will continue to keep an eye on this story, and you can follow this on our Atlanta News First app.
So just the latest from our Atlanta News First newscast, dipping in to take you to the latest from us there. Hey, I'm going to take you through this flight path here. If I can get this to, there we go. Technology.
Yeah, and this will basically show where the plane was traveling from, where it was headed to, and basically what happened during that time. They had to make that emergency landing.
So you can see it going over Lake Lanier, and that is where we start to see that spiral take place. Not your usual route, and maybe this was just practice at taking turns, doing those circles. But then you see that happen on the interstate, that emergency landing that it appears to be. That is where we are seeing this plane now with significant damage to its right wing. I'm just going to replay this for you for a moment so you can see from Gwinnett County Airport in Lawrenceville over Lake Lanier here, taking that first loop. That looks planned, in my opinion.
Once it hovers over Lake Lanier, it loops about 3 or 4 times in it. Look at that.
And I'm not sure if that was part of practicing or if that was trouble maybe with the plane, maybe possibly something to do with that wing. We just don't know the details of that yet, but you do see that moment where that emergency landing
and
took
it looks
place.
like it was maybe heading back to the airport there in Lawrenceville, right?
It does appear that's a good observation. You know, once it started doing that 3 spiral turn, it does look like the plane attempted to circle back towards the airport. Obviously, it didn't make it back towards the airport. There you go. That's the point that we see this plane start to make it back, and you can see it just weaving in a way that is just not typical for a plane, and then another multi-circle loop, and then that attempt to make it back unsuccessful. All right, let's take you back out to this plane. Showed you the flight path a couple times, but
yeah, the scene hasn't changed much. Fire officials, first responders still on scene. The plane has been sitting in the same place as it has been for the past hour now. We can see that very significant damage on the right wing of the plane. We don't know if the pilot was injured. We don't know if the pilot had any other passengers on board. But what we do know is that this area is going to be blocked off for a while as they try to clean things up. And of course, after this entire investigation, you're going to have the FAA come in and investigate, and also the NTSB, which is protocol in many situations like this when it deals with aircraft.
And Natalie Pierce in our comments on our Atlanta News First Facebook saying we have no exit at all and we can't go off the median because there's a wire cable. I do see that observation as well, Natalie. Thank you. And if you are stuck in this again, this is just not an easy situation for these motorists to deal with. I can't imagine not knowing when this is going to clear, especially when you talk about a plane that we can't move a plane as easily as we can probably move a small vehicle. They have to address hazards like jet fuel. They want to make sure this plane doesn't catch fire, and that this investigation can be conducted and they can get all those details, but also move it out of the way for these miles and miles and miles of motorists and drivers like Azra, like Natalie, like Kimberly, who are all sitting in this and just waiting to get any information or movement. And we are following also all of our traffic cameras that are showing just miles and miles of drivers that are impacted by this. Some possibly that just got off work and were headed home. You know, you can imagine the mindset of, I'm just trying to go home and now I'm stuck in this and this is going to be my evening. It's just not an easy situation. We're also looking out to hear hopefully good news about the pilot's condition, any passengers that might have been on board. This is just a lot more questions than answers right now.
And I imagine it's going to be dark by the time they're able to remove that plane there. So if you are still in traffic right now, all I can say is really be patient unless you are able to make a U-turn, as we saw some drivers did. You know, what, about 100 yards away from that plane, there was a little route where a lot of people were turning around and hitting that southbound lane and going back to wherever, maybe trying to find an alternate route.
And for those of you that are sitting in this and watching our stream, I do hope your battery is okay, your phone battery and car battery
and gas.
But thank you for joining us here. We're going to try to get you as many updates that you can use for your planning and just keeping you looped in on everything that's happening. Natalie, who I'm reading your comments and my heart goes out to you, and just sitting in this traffic. I'm going to read this comment from Natalie, since we are on several platforms and not everybody might be seeing us from our Facebook stream here. But Natalie saying, I am sitting in it. We've been here for at least an hour. I believe we got here right after it happened because we had to let all of the officials through, and now we are sitting on the sides of 985 and we just went ahead and cut all our cars off. And that's just the situation. Left middle lane to where any more officials can just get by. That is the situation. You can see that wire in the way that is just preventing those cars from having that route to turn around on.
And Natalie offered some really good advice for folks sitting in traffic. Turn your cars off, preserve that gas, battery life too, and just gonna have to wait it out.
Azra and Natalie are just making friends in the comments section. Yeah, hopefully you guys can meet up. Let us know what you're seeing. I appreciate any and all information we can get from you guys. And then if you have a moment that I know a lot of you are just waiting there. We want to hear from you. Let us know what you're seeing. If I'm going to drop our newsroom phone number for you, if you can reach out to us and just let us know. We'd love to hear from you, Natalie, Azra, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering anybody's name. Kimberly, who's been sitting in this for about an hour. That plane, as long as it remains on the runway, traffic will remain, all lanes will remain blocked.
Absolutely.
Hey, Natalie, Azra, Kimberly, all of you that are sitting out there in this traffic, unable to really move right now. We have received some news. They are continuing to investigate. They're still working on removing this plane off. It still can be some time. I haven't gotten an official update from GDOT as far as what the clear time is for this. We're still working to get that information, but we are hearing that they are at least attempting. We saw earlier that some individuals came by, one of these emergency crews, personnel responding to this, with what I assume, and I'm only assuming because we do not have this confirmed, was removing some of that jet fuel from the plane. I saw them with this large container, orange suits that they were wearing. Hazmat crews, right. And now it does appear that they are working to remove this plane off of the interstate.
Images from the Atlanta News First chopper, and it looks like, actually, Tracy, they've got a tow truck getting ready to maybe move this plane off the interstate there.
Yeah, those northbound lanes of I-985 are blocked off, and that's what they're trying to do, get this out of the way so traffic can start moving again. We are following this story on our Atlanta News First app. Atlanta News First at 5 is back right after this break.
And just tuning into our newscast, I'm going to dip in and out of our newscast just to bring you the latest updates of what we are learning, but also receiving these updates here where you're watching on our live stream. We can now say they're working to remove this plane off of the interstate. That tow truck hopefully will be able to at least push it into that grass area so those cars can start moving through. I do see one line of vehicles moving through.
Yeah, those drivers are getting some relief in sight, you know, as traffic is starting to move slowly, but surely.
Now, Natalie, this is a good time for you to consider turning on your car. It does look like we have some movement. You probably saw that before we did, but this is some positive news for these drivers who have been out there for over an hour since this plane did make that emergency landing.
Some good news, and we're hopeful that the pilot is okay too. We haven't heard of any injuries yet. As I mentioned before, we also don't know if the pilot had any other passengers on board, but we are hoping that everyone is okay. We see that traffic is starting to move again. So the folks who are in the comments right now, go ahead and power those cars back on and, you know, get ready to get in that stream of traffic there. And as you can see too, that tow truck, as you mentioned there, it's about to get ready and move that plane. So we thought it was gonna take a while, but seems like it might not take that long.
And hey, Natalie was saying, I saw, Natalie, you shared our stream, Amazon Prime was in this traffic right next to her. Some people probably not receiving their packages on time. I'm sure that is a fair price to pay for this serious situation, this crash, which can, or not a crash, but an emergency landing that can already be so scary to have to deal with as a pilot and a passenger possibly on this aircraft. And then also those motorists that were stuck and stranded out there, motorists like Natalie, motorists like Kimberly, and so many others. We see a school bus moving. I'm not sure if that school bus has any students on there, but we do see movement from a school bus, several more vehicles that are now lining up to just try to get through on that small sliver of clear roadway.
And guys, if you're just joining this live stream here, what you're looking at right now is a smaller aircraft there on I-985. We learned about an hour ago that the plane made an emergency landing. We haven't heard of any injuries. We don't know if there were any other passengers on board outside of the pilot, but what we do know, what we can tell you is that that plane is about to be removed by that tow truck right there. And as you can see on the right side of that plane there, you can see damage. So we're assuming that when the plane made that emergency landing, it damaged its right wing.
Yeah, and I gotta say, some of those drivers that were closer to the front of this incident, when this plane did make an emergency landing, they have been sitting out there for quite some time, letting those emergency investigators through, and then just the buildup of miles and miles of traffic.
And we saw some cars moving earlier, but looks like maybe fire officials and those first responders stopped that traffic from coming through. Let's see here. Well, I'm assuming as they, you know, as they worked to remove the plane, they had to stop cars from passing through.
Certainly.
So.
And you talk about the safety that has to be considered in this. A plane that is flammable, that carries jet fuel. Just this type of situation has to be proceeded with caution, but also with urgency. You talk about this being such a busy roadway, and now hopefully some signs of good luck. I'm not seeing too many more vehicles passing through on the roadway. It looks like that was briefly paused, but we do see that tow truck getting ready to move that plane forward, and really the big lift that's going to give those drivers movement. That is hopefully underway soon. We are also staying in communication with GDOT, with Gwinnett County Police, with any officials that are on scene right now. I mean, we see several of these vehicles, several of these personnel, emergency crews that are working through this situation, working to help these drivers on this this pilot that is, I'm imagining, is just having just an intense day. I mean, say what you will, it is really a difficult thing to be a driver on this road, but being a pilot, that pilot on this road, equally as challenging. And I do believe we're losing our chopper shot. Yeah.
But let's go ahead and show the folks that flight path one more time.
Yeah, let's take you to this flight path. I'm going to also just show you where exactly this is one more time so you can get a better idea. I know that doesn't apply for those of you that are sitting in this, but again, 985 at Woodward Road. This is the path this plane took. I'm going to replay this. You can see it taking off from Gwinnett County Airport out of Lawrenceville and then over Lake Lanier. And there's that spiral that we saw. And that point, that is where you start to see the return to the airport, the attempted return to the airport. And it's almost an erratic movement, and another spiral, and then we see it touch down in that way, that emergency landing on I-985 at Woodward Mill Road.
And again, we don't know many details yet. We don't know if there was some type of mechanical failure, if there was, some type of emergency, or something that happened with the pilot. Maybe we just don't know those details yet. But again, what we do know is that a pilot was on board. We don't know if he had any other passengers on board with him. There was some significant damage to the right wing of that plane. Traffic was backed up for miles, it looked like. We told folks to find alternate routes. We told folks to share this live stream. So as crews, again, get ready to move that plane off the interstate, we're hopeful that things will return to normal very soon. And again, we're hopeful that the pilot's okay too.
And speaking of, as we continue to monitor the situation and work to learn the conditions of all those involved in that clear time, as those efforts to move that plane out of the way, I'm just looking over at my notes here, continue. You can monitor this also on our website at atlantanewsfirst.com and the Atlanta News First app. For my drivers out there, that app is going to help you. Any and all updates that are going to be necessary for you to figure out when you're going to be able to move again, that is on the app. You can find that information there. Again, we're putting out any and all details. This live stream as well on our website. You can find it there. But the latest information that is on Atlanta News First. It's a free app. You can download it. You can also go to our website. So a lot of resources. We're trying to get you as much information wherever you are, wherever you get your news. We will help you through this and get these updates out to you. So primarily what we're following right now, right? Condition of the pilot, possibly looking out for any information about passengers that might have been on board, as well as that clear time from GDOT.
Yeah, and also what could have caused this particular emergency landing. We know that the FAA is going to have to come in and investigate, and also the NTSB. So it's not going to be a day turn, I guess.
No, not at all. This is going to be
trying to figure out what happened and what caused this emergency landing.
Exactly. This is going to be a story that we're going to stay on as these updates roll in. This is, I imagine, what is going to be a lengthy investigation. It's just not every day that a plane lands on a major interstate like that.
Right. Exactly.
So we will continue to monitor the situation, taking you back out to our website where you can find these updates, and we are following. Here's a map of where this is exactly. Now that pinpoint might not be accurate, but this is the area of I-985 where that plane touched down near Woodward Mill Road, and that is where they are working to clear that plane off of the interstate. All right, and I just stepped away. I just wanted to make sure that we were able to check in on any and all updates that we've gotten. So let's walk through this one last time. This was a single engine aircraft, a Piper PA-28, that landed on Interstate 985 at Woodward Mill Road, right? That is where that emergency landing took place, and that flight path that we saw passed out of Gwinnett County Airport in Lawrenceville, past Lake Lanier, and then that spiral that we saw that prompted an immediate turnaround towards the airport.
Right.
Obviously an unsuccessful one with that landing on the interstate.
Yeah, and we showed you guys the damage to that right wing of that plane, and we do know that the plane, experienced some damage, but what we don't know is if the pilot is okay. We're hopeful that he is, and we're hopeful that if he had any passengers on board, we're hopeful that they're okay too. And again, you saw traffic was built up for miles, it looked like. We saw police, they came in, multiple first responders from fire crews, police. We even saw hazmat crews out there too. So that's definitely important to mention too, because that fuel, they would have to come in and try to remove that fuel if began to leak or anything like that. But
yeah, not an easy thing to remove a plane off an interstate, and probably why they don't land on interstates in the first place. But again, taking you back to our website, I just wanted to highlight this because this is where we're putting out the latest information. You can monitor this live stream through our website, as well as our Atlanta News First app. That's where we're going to send out any and all updates, major notifications, that NTSB update that we're expecting here either later on this evening, early in the morning, overnight. We're going to be monitoring all that, laying all of that information out to you through our AtlantaNewsFirst.com website or the Atlanta News First app.